So my name is Danuta Petelenz. I am Business and Grants Manager at the Technology Commercialization Office at the University of Utah. So today I will be talking about the SBIR STTR program in general. What is the purpose, structure, sources of funding, which agency will participate. What's important is eligibility. I will be talking about eligibility for both, for company and PI. Also, what's going on with SBIR, STTR program reauthorization, and a little bit more specific about particular agency, DOE and NSF, and I will explain why I will be not only talking about DOE, but also about NSF. And in the end, I will summarize my presentation. So, SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation Research. And he said that research is the transformation of money into knowledge. And innovation is the transformation of knowledge into money. Why you suppose to seek funding from SBIR, STTR? First, SBIR is a big program. Government spends over $2 billion annually to support these programs. The money are free. You don't need to repay them. They doesn't dilute your equity. They are not loans. In the same time, for your later stage, it provides verification, recognition, and visibility, because these grants are very competitive. So getting an award can move you not only provided money, but also by recognition and visibility. Also, the money can be a leverage tool to attract funding from other sources, like angels, VC, or maybe big corporations. Sometimes the awarding agency is a gateway also to customers. Program itself fosters partnership, and we will be talking a little bit more about what kind of partnership government expects. What's in it for business? Business retains IP rights, data protected are for 4 years, and in case of DoD for 5 years. And on top of this one, it stimulates economy. SBIR program is a very old program. It first started in 1982, and it's mandatory that all federal agencies with extramural R&D budget above 100 million must set aside 2.5% of the budget to support SBIR program. STTR program is much younger, 10 times younger, and only agencies with extramural R&D funding of over $1 billion have to support STTR program. As you can see from the numbers, they have to support only 0.3% of the budget. So the program is much, much smaller compared to SBIR. So SBIR goals from government are to stimulate technological innovation. They foster and encouraging participation by minority and disadvantaged people. And what's the most important, they want to increase commercialization and innovation from private sector. STTR program is not only about what SBIR is for, but also what's required is a cooperative agreement with research institution, and it expects a transfer technology between business and research institution. So usually something is being developed at the research institution and is being transferred to company, but it works both ways. Both SBIR and STTR programs are three-phase program. It's a three-phase program. Phase 1 is is about conceptual design. And what's expected in this phase 1 is visibility study. It carries right now 150,000, and expected duration for at most agencies is 6 months. And in case of STTR, the funding was not increased in all agencies. Some are still have budget for award 100K and duration up to 12 months. Phase 2 is a continuation of phase 1. It's called prototype development, and it carries much higher funding, 1 million for SBIR and usually 750,000 for STTR. And in case of STTR, it's up to 2 years. Phase 3 is not funded by federal money, by government program. Phase 3 is basically already looking for the money coming from private entity. Which agency participate in the program? There are 11 agencies participating in SBIR program, and only 5 of them are big enough that they have to provide money to support STTR program. These agencies, they are in the order of how much money they have in the budget. So the biggest one is Department of Defense, then Health and Human Services, NASA, DOE is only on 4th place, and NSF on 5th place, and then the rest. Some, it's a color-coded, this slide, because some agencies are considered grants agencies, the others are contract agencies, some are both. So what is the difference between grants and contracts? Usually grants are less specific in topics, they are very broad. Sometimes the topic appears exactly the same from one solicitation to another over years. And the agency is not an end user. So the agency will not be using your technology. Contracting agency is different one. Usually they want to have topics solved that are interested to them. So contracting agency can be in the same time your customer. So topics are very specific, almost to details, what they want to see being solved, in what kind of constraints. Some agencies are both, they provide grant money, they provide contract money. Some, like DOD, it's considered to provide grants, but the agency acts like a contractor. What is the typical standard phase 1 process? So first, the agency describes R&D topics in solicitation. Usually, you have to check it in the solicitation or with the agencies. Unsolicited proposals are not accepted. When you do the submission, the agency goes through evaluation according to the criteria listed in the solicitation. So you have to carefully read solicitation to find out what is really required for the proposal. And after 6 to 9 months, depends on the agency, awards are being made by the agency. So let's talk about eligibility. We have company eligibility. It means company has to be a small business, 500 or less employees, at least 51% US owned by individuals, and must be independently operated. But it's only in case of SBIR, the last one doesn't apply to STTR, company can be owned and controlled by another entity, small business, and is at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more individuals. So it's kind of a transparent. It can be owned by another small business, which is owned by the individuals. In case of STTR, besides the requirements already listed for SBIR, in case of STTR, there must be a formal cooperative agreement between research institution and the company. And also intellectual property agreement must be in place, but at the time of award. You have to remember that always applicant is a small business. It doesn't matter whether it's SBIR program or STTR. It's always small business submitting a proposal. So now let's talk about PI eligibility. If you apply for SBIR, PI must be employed by small business. In case of STTR, it depends on the agency. It can be either from small business or from research institution. In case of NSF, PI, even for STTR, must be from small business. You have to remember that sometimes to improve the quality of your proposal, it's possible, and you should do it, to include multiple PIs on the proposal. But still, the primary PI must fulfill PI eligibility. So only one of these multiple PIs have to fulfill PI eligibility. And on top of what we already talked about company requirement, PI eligibility, we have level of effort. Level of effort is calculated based on the budget you submit. In SBIR, you must spend at least 66% at the company. So it means that only 1/3 of your budget is left for any subcontracting work, any consultant work. In case of STTR, there are two requirements which you have to fulfill in the same time. Minimum 40% has to be done by small business, and 30% by research institution. Here you have for your reference is a table comparing SBIR and STTR programs. So why you should involve university people? It's really strongly encouraged, even by government, that faculty will set up and own small firms. But if you already have a company, you could hire a scientist as a consultant, and the scientist can receive a subcontract, still limited to this 1/3 of the budget, and still continue to work full-time at the research institution. So, scientists, faculty person, for example, can serve as PI on SBIR, but in that time, this faculty scientist has to reduce his full-time employment with research institution to less than 49% for the duration of the grant. So not the submission, it's after you receive the award. If you're a small company, you probably don't have all the resources required, so it's strongly encouraged to come to university and try to cooperate with our researchers, which have analytical tools, and they can provide you with the services you don't have in your small business.
How difficult is that to do at the University of Utah, for example, for professors to reduce their time to 49%? Is that the university will cooperate with that, or?
Usually, what people are doing, they doing it during their sabbatical year. So they take sabbatical year, and in that moment they can reduce their time. and sometimes you can take, you can reduce. It's only for the duration of the award. Phase 1 is a half year.
Yeah.
Usually, your employment is calculated on yearly basis, so you can take higher load during half of the year and reduce during the year you get in the award. This is how it can be done. So in 2008, National Academy of Science did a study on SBIR program, and this is what they found. It was 1/3 of the respondents to the survey. 2/3 of the companies already reported at least one founder was former academic. 1/3 of founders were most recently employed as academic before founding a company. 27% used university faculty as contractors. 70% used university as subcontractors, and 15% used employed graduate students. So it tells you that quite a lot of SBIR proposals included research component from university. So now let's talk about reauthorization. In 2008, officially SBIR and STTR program ended. And we have 2011, 3 years later, we're on 12th continuing resolution, which will end at the end of this month. So it's a choice. They can cut the program, very unlikely. We can have program delinquent, so which is sort of likely that for 2 weeks the program will be in limbo because of the calendar schedule of the Congress. They have such busy calendars that it's not sure that they will have enough time for something like SBIR and STTR program. But what's being in debate? First, they started with rising award amounts. Originally, it was 100K for phase 1, 750 for phase 2. They already fulfilled this requirement, so there is not an issue right now. Phase 1 is 150, phase 2, 1 million. This is the ceiling. In the debate is some people want to raise the current 2.5 set aside money from the agency, raise it to 3.5% over the period of 10 years. Except NIH would stay at the current level. STTR would gain the most. Some people want to have it increased from 0.3%, double it to 0.6%, and for shorter period of time, 6 years. The most sticking point for House versus Senate and small business community is VC eligibility. Right now, if company is owned by more than 49%, such company is not eligible for SBIR and STTR. So it means because the company must be owned by individuals, not by VCs. So some people want to make company owned by VC, but limit the percentage of the award such companies can get. So for all agencies, it could be limited to 8% for the SBIR, and NIH would get a much higher percentage in awards by company owned by VCs, 18%. Also, sticking point is length of reauthorization. Some people don't want to have the program each time reauthorization coming within continuing resolution for years. So they would like to see it 14 years. But there are also people are looking for re-election and they want to have shorter time of reauthorization. Right now, you cannot cross over between SBIR or STTR program. So if you get phase 1 in SBIR, you cannot cross and apply for phase 2 in STTR program, and vice versa. Next, phase 2 access. Both phases, phase 1 and phase 2, are competitive, so you have to independently submit the proposal for both phases. And currently, you cannot apply for phase 2 if you're not already an awardee of phase 1. And you cannot directly access to phase 2. So this is what's right now being discussed. What will come as a bill, nobody knows. Also in discussion is future commercialization programs in the agencies. Some agencies provide very extensive commercialization programs for their awardees, some don't. In majority favor, DoD programs are supported, civilian agencies are not mentioned. So let's talk about DOE in details. It's a different, it's more different than other agencies. So, for example, you not only have to be, if you want to be PI on SBIR, you not only have to be employed by the company, but in the same time, you have to spend a minimum of 3 hours per week. So you have to multiply by the duration of your proposal, how much time your proposal would last, and find out what would be the percentage of your employment.
Can you define PI? What is PI saying?
PI is the person who is basically responsible for the grant in both in research and in administrative.
That's what company person?
PI. PI is a person. PI is
the principal investigator?
Yes, principal investigator,
right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And DOE instead 6 months has 9 months. Unsolicited proposals are allowed in DOE, but they are taking completely different route than standard SBIR program. They are on non-competitive basis. Mechanism of submission DOE using is grants.gov. And what's kind of peculiar is the project narrative, which includes almost everything, must not exceed 14,500 words of text.
About 7 pages.
It can be, it's more. I calculated it. Because if you have, for example, pictures and graph, they increase the number of pages, they don't increase the number of words. So it can be pretty extensive. Now, major changes in the program. The program went overhaul not long time ago, few months ago. And what will be now and in the future, 2 annual solicitations for phase 1 in August and in December. The agency is promising posting topics at least 1 month before the deadline. What's very, very, very important in these agencies, and especially now after the program overhaul, is the commercialization. Commercialization plan is required not only for phase 1, for phase 2, but also for phase 1. And if you lack a commercialization plan, such proposal is administratively rejected without being reviewed. In phase 2, if commercialization plan is rated poorly, such proposal, despite of technical merit, will not be eligible for funding. So commercialization is very, very important in case of DOE application.
Do you have any experience with unsolicited submissions?
No, but how you do it, I checked it. There is when you go to DOE page, and I think it's even if you go to SBIR page, you will find how to submit unsolicited proposal. They have a particular person you have to contact, discuss with that person, and application works in such way that you will get sort of invitation for submitting the application. And in that moment, the proposal is not going through the regular application and reviewing process. So it's either the person and the agency is interested and the proposal will be awarded or not.
It has to be in August and December, or August through December?
No, the deadline. The deadline are in August and December. So there are two solicitations open, one in August, one in December. They might have different topics. So 1 month before the deadline, topics should be posted, or even earlier than 1 month, at least 1 month. This is what agency is saying. In DOE, is a unique agency because you can make your proposal eligible and submit to both programs in the same time and be considered in both programs. Everything depends how you schedule your budget. So if your budget fulfills STTR requirement, you can mark and submit a proposal to be considered either in SBIR program and STTR program. To do it, they basically make the budget allowed in both programs the same. So doesn't matter whether it's SBIR or STTR, phase 1 budget is 150K and phase 2 budget is 1 million. Here you have the schedule for current 2012 fiscal year, when the topics will be posted and when is the due date, and when award will be issued. Contacts, I strongly encourage to go to DOE web page. It's a nice page with very valuable information on it, and especially you have the page from Foresights, which guides you how to prepare commercialization plan. Why I was talking or mentioned 11 agencies submitting or accepting SBIR and STTR proposals, you probably are not aware that all these agencies have topics related to energy, all of them, including Department of Health and Human Services. So it makes sense, it's worth. If you want to get money, if you have the idea, check all agencies, not only DOE. Why I choose NSF for this presentation to make you aware about topics at NSF. From all these other agencies, except DOE, NSF has the most number of topics related to energy. So let's talk a little bit about NSF. If you have very risky project, NSF is the agency to apply to. It's the agency which will accept these risky projects where the outcome is unknown. Other agencies will probably reject such proposals. So what are examples of topics? I choose topics from NSF solicitation deadline June this year. And for example, you have bioenergy, alternative fuels, energy storage, energy supply and use, novel catalytic systems, energy and power management system, materials for energy applications. So these topics are very, very broad, and a lot of the research you would like to perform and you would like to submit the application might fit into one of these listed topics by NSF SBIR. So what is NSF? NSF PI, principal investigator, has to be from research institute, from small business. Doesn't matter whether you apply for SBIR or for STTR. PI has to be from the company. And PI must spend 1 calendar month in case of SBIR and 2 calendar months for STTR submissions. NSF is not using grants.gov as submission site. NSF is using their own line, fast code, fast lane. If you, in the last moment, decide to submit to NSF, the registration process is very short. Probably 2 days are sufficient to get your company and PI registered, as opposed to grants.gov, and I know that Mary will be talking about how to do the submissions through grants.gov. A deadline in NSF is twice a year, and funding is a different budget in NSF for funding. SBIR, STTR, the same, 150, but phase 2 is only 500, as opposed to 1 million in the OE. NSF, besides phase 1 and phase 2, they have programs called phase B and phase 2. So if you awardee of phase 1, you can submit 1B. If you awardee of phase 2, you can later submit to 2B. So solicitation for 2B program. Basically, agency realized that there must be a shortage of funding during the phases. So this is why they came with phase 1B and phase 2B and still follow the general federal guidelines for the program. Phase B, 1B and 2B, requires matching private funding. So what are the merit criteria within NSF are very different. They still require commercialization potential and is being considered under broad impact. And under broad impact, you have to explain what would be the benefit to the society which your product might bring or your research. Intellectual merit is roughly the same across all agencies. This is why I mentioned broad impact. This one is unusual, very typical, it's only used by NSF. What's nice about that agency is that between the submission deadline and notification of award will pass only 6 months. So let's talk about what kind of resources university can provide to you. If you are a university licensee, we can help you to form a company. We have office space, we have lab spaces which you can rent. We can help you with grants development, accounting and bookkeeping. If you have a problem to put together your board of directors, we will help you. We can help you with selecting management and executive team. We can help you with marketing assessment and business development. We have our internal funding, or we have access to external funding, which we can help you to apply. And on top of this one, we provide you a lot of networking. If you're not only a licensee, but in the same time you're university employee, faculty, we can register a company and PI on your behalf for grant submission. We can find you appropriate agencies for your research, for your proposal, find topics, still proposal development, we can help you with. We can review the proposal, give you comments, provide advice. We will maintain contact with program managers, topic managers, and so on, point of contacts. If the proposal is awarded, we will assist you with the whole award process. And on top of everything, we will provide you with extra information, material specific to each agency. So because we have these 11 agencies, always check their solicitation, because each agency is different. You already had an example, DOE and NSF. And what's advisable, each agency required to know state of the art. You have to seek collaborative partners, form teams. The more the better, the stronger credentials they have, better. Also do pre-solicitation marketing, call, talk with program manager in particular programs, and only submit to the agency which really tells you that they like the proposal and they would be looking for this proposal you to submit. Always remember that whether it's SBIR or STTR program, commercialization is very, very important, because this is what federal are spending money for. They want private business to commercialize. So always remember that eligibility for company, for PI is tested at the time of award. Usually no appendices are allowed in phase 1, and PI doesn't have to be PhD or MD, but PI is required to have expertise to oversee project both scientifically and technically. Also, application may be submitted to different agencies for similar work. The catch is you cannot accept money for the same scope of work. It's illegal. Thank you. Any questions?
Does this apply to a startup as well, or is it established companies only?
No, startups. Startups are very welcome in applications. The only agency where you will see a lot of well-seasoned company, big corporations having majority of SBIR submissions is DOE.
Is there some preferred form of organization, or could it be an LLC?
It can be an LLC, it can be
a
any.
single owner LLC?
Correct, yes.
Are the August and December deadlines for both phase 1A and 2 at the same time? So one isn't for phase?
For phase, in case you're talking about DOE. In case of DOE, they will have different deadline for phase 2. And it's again like, it's still competitive, 50% award rate for phase 2, but you have to be invited, kind of like invitation, where it's like invitation.
It's not clear to me in your presentation what's going to happen in 2 weeks to the SBIR, STTR.
Two possibilities: delinquents for probably next 2 weeks after the deadline, or we will get another continuing resolution. It will be the 13th one.
13th one?
13th one. Right now we operate on 12th.
So what?
From 2008. 3 years, 12 continuing resolutions.
So typical Congress can make a decision. So how long would the continuing resolution be then? What, another 6 or 8 months?
Yeah, very likely. Maybe 3 only. There is a different submitted bill from House and from Senate, and these two cannot agree.
So write your congressperson and your senator and tell them
Yes.
to keep the program going under the Senate. Under the Senate.
Yes.
That is the most advantageous to small business.
Yes.
The venture capitalists' participation in ownership. Can you discuss more about that and how, I mean, it's difficult to keep those small groups going. You've got to have paychecks, right?
Yes.
Can you talk more about what are some strategies you can use to get money to assist the thing going on and don't give away ownership? And what about the funding that maybe the universities can supply? Does that count or not count?
No, it's counted.
It
It's
counts.
counted towards
So-
VC because it's not individually owned. If you have funding from angels,
Angels, yes.
they count as individuals, unless angels will fund as a group. You see the difference?
So as long as you have individuals by name funding,
Correct.
funding is an angel and it doesn't count.
Correct.
So then if a VC, okay, so at what ownership? So somebody gives you 100K, right? How do you decide what percentage is ownership?
Yes. Usually you take the whole pool of ownership of your equity,
Yes.
and then you will find out how many of this equity is owned by VCs. If it's more than 49%, company is not eligible. If it's less than 49, it's eligible.
And so you can decide how much you're going to give away for how much money, right?
Sure. Yes.
Yes, right.
Oh yeah.
What?
It's the outcome which
Yes,
counts.
yes.
Which counts.
Maybe there's-
No.
Any more questions?
So just on the VC question there,
Uh-huh.
so currently, if it's over 49%, that you're not eligible, but the proposal is that you would be eligible, but just only a certain small percentage of the funds you would get.
In the future, this is what's in the discussion.
The proposal is that even if you're over 49% for a VC, then you can still get funded, but it's 8% of the total.
In the future,
Yeah.
we don't know what it is.
Okay.
Correct.
Proposal, okay.
Yes. Owned by the term owned by VCs means more than 50%. Because the company is majority owned by a VC. Thank you.